What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Frankie Distoli Show. I am your host, Frankie Distoli, and as always, I am excited to have every single one of you here. I appreciate you guys listening, as always, and I am coming off one of those real, highlight moments of my life, of my kind of career and everything that I have going on. We had Rosary in Real Estate, our first ever Rosary in Real Estate event on February 18th. It was Tuesday night, and we had just an awesome group of people come out, and it was just such an amazing event, and it was one of those moments where I just really felt like God's divine providence was, coming out into the open in my life. And just with the event itself, with the way it turned out, with the people that got together, with the conversations that were had, it was really, really awesome. And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Like, this was an event that I was slightly nervous for because it's a very niche thing. I mean, pray the rosary, buy real estate. It's picked up. I've had a handful of people that have, hit me up about it and have been like, I'm praying the rosary. I've had a handful of people that have sent me pictures of them praying the rosary, and the joy and the satisfaction and, just the ultimate happiness that I get from situations like that, from people doing that stuff. It's just second to none. I mean, I love talking about real estate. I do. Do not get me wrong. Like, I love talking about how to buy property. Buying property is probably my favorite hobby. It's like the hunt of finding deals and acquiring them and locking them down. When it comes to managing property and managing managing projects, that's where it gets a little more tedious, and I don't have as much fun. Although I do have fun when I definitely refinance. But having that conversation about real estate is something that I love to do, and I'm very passionate about real estate. But bringing faith to the table and talking about Jesus, talking about our Blessed Mother Mary, talking about Saint Joseph, talking about the Rosary, talking about heaven and hell, talking about, God's will over our will, talking about spiritual poverty, like talking about all of these things is my jam. And I love it because my life has been so impacted by God's will and his grace. And when I get to share that with other people, it's really just so amazing. But, being that I brought this kind of group together of rosary and real estate, it's not like it's just rosary, right? Where like it's just cool. Anybody that wants to come out and, pray the rosary and talk about the rosary, come out. No, like, it's also real estate. So it was definitely a little like I don't want to necessarily say nerve wracking, but I was just kind of like, how do I approach this? You know what I mean? How do I really approach talking to these people? Because they're probably here for one of four reasons. They're here either because they want to learn about the rosary, which is awesome. They want to learn about real estate, which is also really cool. Or they want to learn about both, which is the most ideal case scenario. Or they're just here to support me, which I'm very appreciative of all those people that were there just straight up to support. But at the end of the day, like, I feel it's, as a Catholic, it's my job to, proclaim the kingdom of God and to talk about Jesus Christ and to bring Jesus into other people's lives. So as this was coming up, I was trying to contemplate, how do I go about this? And no lie, I was definitely a little bit nervous. And the morning of, I'm doing my normal routine, which is a 4:30 a.m. wake up, a 4:45 workout, wrap up by like 5:08, 5:10. Usually I'm done with my workout, cold shower, black coffee, holy hour. Holy hour from 5:30 to 6:30. That's around when my wife and daughter get up, and then we get the day started. And as I'm in this holy hour on Tuesday, I am praying my rosary, and as I'm, offering up my rosary, I'm saying, Blessed Mother, please, guide me. Holy Spirit, guide my words today for what I'm going to say at the meetup. And as I do this, and this has happened to me countless times at this point, so it's not necessarily a surprise to me. If this sounds brand new to you, I highly suggest that you start doing this stuff, where you start invoking the Holy Spirit, you start invoking Jesus and our Blessed Mother into your life and into the, regular conversations and the bigger conversations that you might have. And as I'm doing this and as I'm praying the rosary, all these thoughts start coming into my head about exactly what I want to say and how I want to break this down. And I start writing all this down. As I'm praying the rosary, I got my notes up, and I'm writing notes also. And you know, as the group kind of got together, and I'll get into kind of some of the stuff that I talked about shortly when we kind of start breaking some of this down. But after this, after that moment, after I prayed that rosary, I definitely felt a lot more at ease. I felt like, all right, I have structure now. I know what I'm going to do. I ended up going to Staples. I ended up grabbing some presentation stuff that I wanted to use. And then when I went there to start putting the event together, truthfully, I didn't know what the turnout was going to be. because like I had the RSVP link and some people were RSVPing, but other people were kind of like, yeah, I might be able to make it out. I wasn't sure. And because I had to cancel it the week before, I wasn't sure if those people that had RSVP'd were definitely still going to come. And truthfully, I forgot about some of those people that were RSVPing. I was kind of having like a working list of who was coming, but I didn't actually look back at the RSVP list before I got there. And when I got there, one of the first people that came up was my boy Larry, which I always love seeing him. Larry, he's one of my insurance guys, and is helping me create a what does he call it? In it's not an immovable bank. Infinite banking. Infinite banking is the term that Larry uses. He's helping me create infinite banking where I can become my own bank, and I'm actually very excited about it. And I'll plug my boy Larry another time, and maybe I'll have him on the show to talk about it. But it's actually a very interesting concept. But he shows up, and he's a great supportive guy. And as like a public speaker, and kind of putting something together like this, when you have like that first person that comes in that like they bring good vibes, like it's just like, all right, bet, like we got a little bit of a party starting in here, which is cool. And then some other really really great friends of mine ended up coming, and then other people that I wasn't actually anticipating coming showing up, like one of a kid that I know from high school that I haven't spoken to in years, but he saw what I was doing on Instagram, and he's also a faithful Catholic. He's a hardworking guy. He's in a relationship. He sees what's being built here, and he also wants to learn about real estate, and he wants to grow deeper in his faith. He ends up showing up. A handful of my really close friends, people that are in Distoli's dojo, end up showing up. A couple people from my Exodus group, who I don't actually interact with often, because within the Exodus group, there's two groups. There's a Wednesday night group and there's a Saturday group. Two guys from the Saturday night group ended up coming out, which was really, really awesome. So it was kind of this mosh pit of different people, from different backgrounds and from different areas. Ultimately, some people were in Jersey, some people were in PA, some people were South Jersey versus North Jersey. Like a bunch of these different people were coming together. And what I've noticed is like it was really good variety, because you had a few people that were very religious. Like they, when they walked in there, they had their rosaries, like they were ready to rock. But they knew nothing, or they knew, some stuff about real estate. And to them, it was awesome to, of course, hear about the rosary and, of course, the stuff that they love and what they care about. But it was really refreshing for them to hear about real estate and to learn and kind of go down that rabbit hole of what could be for what their, future professional lifestyle looks like. And then I had a couple of, other people that were real estate guys, like my boy Justin Eaton, who I had on the show, Make Laundry Great Again. Like he was there. My boy Mike Conti. I'm Justin Pavlich. I'm dropping there was a handful of my friends that are in real estate that showed up. And for them, they know the real estate stuff. A lot of the content that I covered on real estate was very basic and rudimentary for them. But when we talked about the rosary, that was a whole new realm that they were learning about, right? So like it was really, really cool to bring these people together. And then I had some people that knew like nothing about anything, and other people that weren't even Catholic were there, right? And it was just goes to show that like and this is what I said, like you don't have to be a Catholic to come and learn about the rosary, to learn about Jesus, to learn about our Blessed Mother, to learn about growing in spiritual poverty and these virtues, right? So it was awesome. It was really, really awesome sight to see. I had 13 men there that attended, and of course my beautiful wife and my daughter were there, and my extremely supportive sister-in-law, who I love to death. They were there to support as well. So it was great. It was really an awesome event. And on top of like the group of people that were there, I was kind of thinking about, how do I really kick this off, right? So I asked a few questions, and I will say, if you're listening to this, I want you to think about these questions. And I actually had everybody in the group close their eyes, and the reason that was because I didn't want anybody to feel that they could answer dishonestly. And if you, but depending on the way that you answer these questions, might actually be kind of a sign of maybe you want to actually attend the next Rosary and Real Estate event, because these are the topics that we talked about. But when I asked people to close their eyes, I asked them 6 questions. The first question was, raise your hand if you know absolutely nothing about real estate investing. A handful of hands went up. Like I had mentioned, there was definitely a variety of people there. Raise your hand if you are actively investing in real estate, meaning you have at least one property. That was the next question. After that, I said, raise your hand if you feel like you are absolutely where you want to be as a real estate investor, and you would be fine getting no more properties, and your cash flow is exactly where you want, and you don't need any more growth. And no hands went up for that, right? Then I said, cool, now we're going to get a little bit deeper. Raise your hand if you know what the rosary is. And you had a handful of people that actually raised their hand. They were familiar with the rosary. Raise your hand if you're actively praying the rosary. And by actively praying, I mean at least once a week. And a handful of hands dropped, but there were a couple hands that were up. And then I said, raise your hand if you feel like you are in complete communication and in deep, kind of relationship with God and with Jesus and with Mary, that you do not need to proceed any more forward on, your faith journey. And nobody's hands went up, just as no one's hand went up when I asked who's absolutely at their max in real estate investing. And it just goes to show that there's variety there. Again, as I had mentioned, right? Some people are actively investing in real estate and they're not praying the rosary. They don't even know what the rosary is. There's some people that are actively praying the rosary and they don't even know what real estate investing is. So it was awesome. Like I said, it's a very niche group, but it was a great group of guys that were in that room, and it was really, really awesome. And then from there, we started talking about the rosary and we started talking about real estate. And what I was saying was they're actually quite similar. And the reason they're quite similar is because both of them are assets. The rosary is an asset. Real estate is an asset. Let's start with real estate, right? Real estate provides for you by a few different ways. It provides for you with cash flow. It provides for you with appreciation when the value of your home goes up. And it provides for you with tax benefits when you actually get to depreciate the house and do a handful of other things with it. The rosary, all right, so real estate's going to provide for you on a material level. The rosary also provides for you. It's an asset for you. However, it provides for you through virtues, because through the rosary, you meditate on the mysteries of Jesus and Mary's life, and specifically around Jesus's birth, his life, and his death, and his resurrection, right? That's what you meditate on. And as you meditate through the rosary, and as this episode goes on, I'm going to tell you exactly how to go about praying the rosary. When you meditate on the rosary, and you meditate on those mysteries of the rosary, you meditate on a particular part in Jesus or Mary's life, and attached to those mysteries is a fruit of the mystery. And most of the time, those fruits are virtues, right? And virtues such as humility, virtues such as, of course, now I'm trying to think about it, and I'm drawing blanks on some. Virtues such as courage, virtues such as purity, virtues such as prudence, all these things that help you grow in holiness, right? And the beautiful thing is, if you invest in, real estate really, really well, you're actually going to be led to paradise. And if you, actually buy real estate properly and you get cash flow, that paradise could look like the Bahamas or Bora Bora or Cancun or something along those lines. But if you pray the rosary, you will also be led to paradise. And that paradise is eternal paradise. That paradise is heaven. So that's why these are two assets that you can utilize to grow in spiritual poverty and in generational wealth, which is the whole backbone of Pray the Rosary by Real Estate. So that was great to kind of break down. I started with, breakdowns of real estate investing, and I broke it down into kind of just a 9-step how to actually do it, right? And I'll just kind of rip that real fast. And, if you've been listening to the Frankie DeStoli show, I break this stuff all the time. But what I talked about is pretty much, number one is you need to pick your strategy, really understand what it is that you're looking to do. Are you looking to be a long-term buy and hold investor? Are you looking to flip? Are you looking to do short-term rentals? Are you looking to do midterm rentals? Are you looking to do apartments, new construction, house hacking, laundromats or car washes or anything along those lines, right? Understand what your strategy is. Then you got to pick your market. From there, you got to determine what your buy box is, right? Understanding, like, I can't just go out and, look for anything and everything. I got to kind of tone it down and shave it down a little bit. Once you get there, you're going to start analyzing deals. Or I'm sorry, before you analyze deals, you need to find the deals, right? So how are you going to locate them? Are you going to do paid marketing strategies? You're going to do organic strategies. These are all things I've talked about in the past. Then once you find those deals, you're going to analyze those deals, putting together deal math, finding that ARV. If you're questioning how to find ARV or you don't want to know what ARV is, I think it was 2 episodes ago, straight out of Compin. Go back and listen to that episode. I'm going to really break down how to find your after repair value. Then you're going to go through renovation costs, understanding what that is, and you're going to put your deal math together. From there, you're going to lock down the deal. Usually some form of acquisitions is needed there, some sales tactics. You might need to meet the seller, or it might be an on-market deal where you're kind of having some interactions with the agent. From there, you're going to want to secure lending. You're going to want to secure a title company, and then you're going to close the deal. And that was a big bulk of the conversation that we talked about, was going through those things. And what's awesome is, out of that group of, 13 men that I had in the Rosary and Real Estate meetup, probably about half of them, if not a little bit more, were active real estate investors. And we had just great conversations with my boys, talking about, the types of properties they buy into, things that they see, how they find deals, how they analyze deals, all of that stuff. And then you had some other people that knew absolutely nothing. And it was great because they were taking notes and they were super engaged and they were super, studious in regards to what was being asked and how they could take that and actually make something out of it. And then after we kind of wrapped up the real estate talk, I got into the rosary talk, which is, as I mentioned, my jam. And I love the rosary. I pray the rosary. I pray at least once a day. I, at one point, was praying 3 a day, which was very, very fire. At this point, I'm kind of at 2 a day because I got a few other things that I include in my prayer time. But again, as I mentioned, the rosary is going to bring you virtue. And there's, a few steps that I had broken down to how to pray the rosary. Number one is you need to get a set of beads, rosary beads. And for everybody that came, it was fantastic because I already gave them beads. I gave them beads to go home with. So they already had step one in the bag. Not like if you don't have the real estate side, you didn't necessarily know your strategy maybe when you were going in there. But if on the rosary side, you already have step one, you have your beads. And it's important to have the beads. And I'll give a quick example. My cousin, Joey, who's doing Exodus 90 with me, who we just actually, I was his sponsor. We, got him to be baptized Catholic, to get his confirmation, to receive Holy Communion. He did kind of that whole RCIA thing as he graduated to become a Catholic and was baptized Catholic. This was last Easter Vigil leading up to Easter Sunday. So now it's been almost the full year that he's been Catholic. And, he started praying the rosary. But what I didn't realize is he didn't have beads. So he was using the Hallow app, which is an app that I use. I love the Hallow app. I think it's a great app and it's absolutely something worth looking into. And he was using the Hallow app and he was playing the Rosary, probably by Mark Wahlberg. He does it on there, along with a couple great other people that are on there. But he was praying the Rosary, but he didn't have the beads. And he was like, I'm getting lost, like in the Hail Marys. And with the rosary itself, which you got to understand is it's pretty dense. Like it should take a good rosary should be 15 to 20 minutes, in some cases 25 minutes if you're really meditating on the mysteries and the virtues and the fruits of the mysteries. But if you don't have the beads and you're just listening to it, it's very, very hard to follow along with, and it's really, really hard to like meditate on. And that's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is meditating on it, right? It's not like to just say a bunch of Hail Marys and a bunch of Our Fathers. And to be specific, one rosary is contained with 5 decades and 5 mysteries. And every decade is 10 beads, right? Obviously a decade. And on those 10 beads, you pray 10 Hail Marys. And between each of those 10 beads, you pray 3 other prayers. You pray an Our Father, a Glory Be, and a Fatima prayer. And this is actually step 2 to the rosary, is understanding the prayers and knowing them and on which beads they go. So as you go into the rosary, you start with an Apostles' Creed, then you hit an Our Father, you go 3 Hail Marys, a Glory Be, a Fatima prayer, and then you get into the mysteries. And once you go across the beads on those mysteries, let me see, of course, the day that I'm talking about rosary and real estate, I don't have my beads on my table, on my desk, which I could show in the video. But as you're going through the rosary, you're praying. It's a lot of prayers. Like I said, it's 53 Hail Marys total. It is 6 Our Fathers, an Apostles' Creed, 6 Glory Bees, 6 Fatima prayers, and a Hail Holy Queen. So it's a lot of prayers. And my cousin Joey was like, why is it like so many prayers? Like, I don't really understand. I'm not following it. And the best way for me to really describe the rosary is imagine it as like a workout routine. And when you go to the gym, do you just do like one bench press? No. Do you do one squat? Do you do one sit up? Do you do one jumping jack, right? Like, no, you don't ever do just one rep, right? Usually you do like 6 to 12 reps on certain things, right? That's for the most part, sometimes 15 reps, whatever the case might be. The rosary is a workout routine when it comes to the spiritual, because you don't just say one Hail Mary, right? You say 10 of them on every single decade. And it's pretty much like I literally break it down to like 5 sets of 10. You're doing 5 sets of 10 reps. And on every single one of those, instead of going from bench press to squat rack to lat pull down, you are going from joyful mystery 1 to joyful mystery 2, all the way to joyful mystery 5. And you're hitting that Our Father, and then you're hitting those 10 Hail Mary reps, and then your Glory Be and your Fatima prayer. And as you're doing it, you're meditating and you're praying and you're in communication with Jesus and Mary. So once you know the prayers on every single bead, then you have to know the mysteries. And again, as I mentioned, the mysteries of the rosary all tie in with the life death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and Mary's part in his life as well. So as you're hitting on those mysteries, you are reflecting on the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and how Mary was involved in that. And then once you know the mysteries, that fourth step is to understand the fruits. And like I had mentioned, every single mystery has a fruit. So let's just go through a few of them, right? We'll go with the joyful mysteries. So the joyful mysteries revolve around like the birth of Jesus Christ and kind of like getting into his life a little bit. So that first joyful mystery is what's called the Annunciation. The Annunciation is when the angel Gabriel visits our Blessed Mother Mary and lets her know that she is to carry the Son of God, right? And the mystery, that's the mystery. The fruit of that mystery is humility. Now, why do we possibly pull humility from that? There's a few ways that I see humility in this situation. Number one, I see humility from a divine perspective of God himself, right? God is all powerful. God controls, created, runs everything that's around us. So you're seeing that God is putting himself into the Virgin Mary in a very, very small town in, not a castle. He's not being born into this, kind of grand, magistrate with, a flaming, unicorn next to him or anything crazy like that, right? Like it's a small, small situation here that God is bringing himself to, and he's going to bring himself forward as an infant, as a helpless infant that is reliant on his mother and his father. And we see humility within Mary as well, because Mary, she responds, I am the handmaid of the Lord, do it unto me as his will. That's not word for word. It's kind of in regards to that. And we see that she's accepting of God's will over her will. And I think about this a lot. I think about, Mary probably had plans for her life, right? She was betrothed to Joseph. Saint Joseph, she was betrothed to him. I'm sure she had plans of starting a family and, continuing on life with Saint Joseph in whatever way that might have been. There's, things that revert back to Mary, and both Saint Joseph and Mary took perpetual vows of virginity before they were ever betrothed to each other. So maybe it didn't look as so much of what, necessarily would think of starting a family with kids, but they had plans. And God, the angel Gabriel comes to Mary and tells her about his plans for her and for what she is going to do and bring forth the savior of the world. And she accepts the will of God. And that's humility, right? And we see that's the first mystery and the first fruit of the joyful mysteries. The second, I'm not going to go into detail on every single one. I'll do that on some separate episodes. But the second one is the visitation, where Mary visits her cousin Elizabeth, and the fruit of that mystery is love of neighbor. We reflect on our roles as, Catholics and Christians, and what we bring, what we're called to do, which is love our neighbor, right? That's part of our duty. The third is the birth of Jesus Christ, which is personally my favorite in the joyful mysteries, and where I got the term spiritual poverty from for Pray the Rosary by Real Estate, because the fruit of that mystery is spiritual poverty. And I love meditating on that one just for kind of some of the reasons I mentioned before. This is God coming to life on earth in the form of an infant in a manger, in a dirty manger around poverty. And Jesus and Mary, St. Joseph and Mary are there, and they don't have much right now. They don't even have a room at the inn, yet they have everything because they are in the presence of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I love reflecting on that one. The fourth mystery is the presentation in the temple. This was back then a Jewish ritual that you present your son to God and pretty much consecrate him to God. And this is something that Mary and Joseph did, and it shows that there's obedience to God. And we can reflect on obedience. And obedience is always taken as a negative nowadays, but it's not. If you are obedient to God and you do his will and you follow his plan for your life, that is very, very virtuous. And the fifth one is the finding of Jesus in the temple. So in Jesus's lifetime, Mary and Joseph actually lost him for 3 days, and they were anxiously searching for him for 3 days, kind of a foreshadowing of the fact of Jesus dying and being resurrected 3 days later. But they eventually find him in the temple preaching and talking with the elders. And the fruit of that mystery is finding Jesus. It's piety. It's having that feeling of growing and understanding and finding and building that communication with God. So again, that's just the 5 joyful. There's the joyful mysteries, there's the sorrowful mysteries, which honestly are my favorite because they're just so deep to meditate and pray on, and that's on the death of Jesus Christ. There's the glorious mysteries, which is on the resurrection and what comes after that in Jesus and Mary's life. And then there's the luminous mysteries, which were actually implemented not too long ago. I think it was during St. John Paul II. He instituted the luminous mysteries, and those kind of reflect a little bit more on the life of Jesus Christ, along with some other stuff like the Eucharist. So it was awesome to kind of break some of that stuff down. And that last step of praying the rosary is when you're praying the rosary to really invoke Mary and Jesus into your prayers through those meditations. So it was really awesome to kind of talk about that. And the convos that opened up from there were just like amazing. They really, really were. And some of them were like pretty deep. Like some of them were tough questions. Like, should we be going to mass? Like, do we have to pray? If we don't go to mass, like, can we still pray the rosary? Like some of these more challenging questions were coming up. Other questions just about God. People were starting to explain, or not necessarily explain, people were starting to open up about experiences they've had and how they felt touched by, Jesus in their life. And it was one of those like times where things were just getting deep, but things were getting real. Like they were getting very, very real. And we were all talking about legitimate problems in the world. And as 13 men in that room, talking about the rosary, talking about obedience to God, talking about growing deeper in faith, and talking about virtues, it was one of those great moments to just realize that we live in a world right now where virtues are pretty much out the window. Like they're not like something that's on the forefront of people's mind. And we were talking about this. Like a lot of men nowadays, they shy away from responsibility. They shy away from starting families. They shy away from providing for families. They shy away from, going to God and being obedient to him. Like this is all very, very real problems. And being in a meetup like this, I've never had conversations like this in a meetup outside of like my church meetup that I have every Wednesday through Exodus. It was awesome. And having my boys who are in real estate, some other people who I'm kind of acquaintance with and been able to kind of open up and talk with them. It was just really, really an amazing experience. And we kind of all segued to the order of rosary in real estate, which is what I kind of created to be a additional stepping stone in this, right? So the Rosary in Real Estate meetup was fantastic. And the purpose of it was to introduce people to the saying, pray the rosary and buy real estate, to, start praying the rosary, to grow deeper with their relationship with Jesus and Mary, and also to start invoking them into their prayer life. And then also to start building a portfolio or start breaking into real estate investing so that they could build generational wealth and provide for those that are entrusted to them, their spouse, their kids, their grandkids, things along those lines, right? So, the membership of the Order of Rosary in Real Estate takes that a step further. It's for people that are a little bit more committed and want to go deeper, right? So there's only 2 obligations for the membership of the Order of Rosary in Real Estate. Obligation number 1 is that you pray a rosary once a week, minimum, right? That's it. Obviously, I want you guys to pray a rosary every single day. Like that is the goal. Like you should absolutely be praying a rosary every single day. It's 20 minutes of your day, which I've mentioned this before, equates to 1.3% of your day. That's it. But at the bare minimum, if you are a member of the Order of Rosary in Real Estate, you are making a commitment. You are obligated to pray a rosary once a week. And the reason this is to not punish anybody, obviously. It is to make sure that you are on that path, that you are on that path of spiritual growth, because I know and I believe it in my heart, and I think everybody that joins as a member also believes it. The rosary is a path to holiness. It doesn't mean, and I just want to make this clear, I said this in the group as well, it doesn't mean that if you don't pray the rosary, you're not going to heaven. That's not what that means. Just like if you don't buy real estate, it doesn't mean that you also still can't be financially free, right? Like the rosary is not like if you don't pray it, if you've never prayed it before, like you can't go to heaven, right? It's not that. So I want to make that very, very clear. But same as, buying real estate, if you buy real estate, you put yourself in a position to be financially free. If you pray the rosary, you put yourself in a position to go to heaven and to bring other people closer to Jesus Christ. So everybody that's in the Order of Rosary in Real Estate, they make an obligation to pray the rosary at least once a week. The second obligation is that they will pursue real estate investing as something to have as assets to provide for those that are entrusted to them. That is the only 2 obligations. the benefits of being a member of Rosary and Real Estate, the Order of Rosary and Real Estate. Number one, you get access to exclusive member-only meetings. So this is something that I'm going to also be putting together is these member-only meetings where we go deeper in faith. We go deeper on the rosary, where we really have deep conversations about those mysteries, about what actually occurred. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the virtues. Let's push more on that. Really getting deep into meditation, praying the rosary more, intentionally and understanding, and also just in general growing deeper in faith. And in those membership meetings, we'll have that, and then we'll also have deeper conversations about real estate investing. Right? What does it actually mean to run numbers and to underwrite deals? How do we go and protect the assets that we're buying? How do we go and make sure that we have all of our bookkeeping in order and we have accountants lined up so that when tax season comes around, these things are all done. It's a little bit of like a mastermind where we're also going to be bringing in some more like guest speakers, like guys to talk about asset protection, guys to talk about new construction, stuff along those lines within the membership group for people that want to get a little bit more intentional about real estate investing as well. Second to that is we're going to be forming an exclusive Facebook group for all the members to pretty much just post things in there, right? To post, stuff on the rosary, to post stuff on real estate, to ask questions, to seek guidance and mentorship, to help just building a little bit more camaraderie within the community. The third is there's going to be a monthly newsletter that I'm going to be launching every single month, which we'll be talking about, obviously, the rosary and real estate. And the fourth is, I'm actually drawing a blank on what that fourth one is. How could I forget? A prayer intentions list. This is one other thing that I'm including. So if you are a member of the Order of Rosary and Real Estate, you're going to get access to the prayer intention list where you could add your own prayer intentions and ask other members to pray for them. And also you could pray for other members' prayer intentions. And this is highly recommended when the members are praying their weekly rosary, if not daily rosary. But just in general, to have that prayer intention list for a membership group to kind of look back on and say, hey, John Smith is going through a tough time right now. I'm going to include him in my prayers when I pray my rosary and something along those lines. So those are the kind of benefits of the membership. And again, I want to take it deeper. And if you want to come deeper as well, and you want to really dive into the rosary, you want to really dive into real estate investing, as long as you pass those two obligations that you're going to pray a rosary once a week and you're going to pursue investing in real estate, you are a qualified person and can become a member. And the beautiful thing about the memberships is you don't have to be local. Like with the meetups, they're more in person, especially the general meetup groups. The membership groups, my plan is to do more virtual stuff in regards to that. That doesn't mean we won't have in-person meetups for some of the months with the membership group, but I'm going to try to do some more virtual stuff. So if you are listening, and I know I have listeners all over the US and in other countries also. I see Italy, I see Russia, I see South Africa, I see Sweden, Canada, wherever you're listening, like I want you to know that you can be a member of the Order of Rosary and Real Estate as long as you pass those two obligations and you can reap the benefits from it. So if you are interested in signing up, even if you can't make it out to one of those in-person meetups, you can still sign up and be a member. And at this group, I had 13 people there and 6 of them signed up to be members and a couple more are also potentially coming in. There's a few other people in there that I still got to work on a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, it was really, really awesome. I plan on doing those meetups once a month, ideally, but obviously my wife is most likely going into labor within the next couple weeks. So we will, kind of just see how some things play out. I might have to kind of push it to about every 6 weeks and stuff, just kind of depending on how the schedules and stuff lie. But for the most part, I plan on doing about once every month or once every 6 weeks, a general meeting for anybody that's just interested in an in-person meeting. And then every, 4 to 6 weeks, one of those membership only meetings where we dive a little bit deeper. But again, I could not say that I could be any happier. It was one of those moments where I was leaving Tuesday night and I was just like over the moon. I just felt so good about how it came. I'm going to be dropping a lot of content on my Instagram about it as well. I haven't had a chance to post it. I've just been so busy. We got 2 refinances next week, excuse me, and a handful of other closings too. So it's just been kind of crazy. But again, I couldn't be more excited about how it came out. And as I was leaving the parking lot, I'm literally popping a left out of the parking lot. And I didn't even realize that there was a church right across the street from the tap room in Haddon Township. And my headlights just actually just shined like right on a statue of Mary. And it just like resonated in my heart. It just felt so good kind of leaving the tap room and just feeling like it was such a success. So it was awesome. I really, really loved it. I'm super excited for the next one. And if you guys are interested in being a part of the Order of Rosary and Real Estate, or just kind of looking to come out to a Rosary and Real Estate meetup, please hit me up, Frankie Distoli _REI, or you could email in at support@rosaryandrealestate.com. That's support@rosaryandrealestate.com if you have any questions at all. It was fantastic, and I'm just so happy about it. And I appreciate you guys listening to the recap. And as always, pray the rosary, buy real estate. I will talk with you. Peace out.